Well, hello again. Did occur to me that just to finish this compressor off, what I probably should do is just put a frequency sweep through it and see how the different frequencies get compressed, whether it's reasonably flat or whether it's all over the place. So I've set it up again as I had before, only this time the generator's on the right and the level meter's on the left. This is a neg 10 reference level there, putting in 0 dBm here. Okay, and that's at 1 kilohertz. So first thing I'll do is I'll just increase the level, there we go, to +2. So we're now putting in +2 and we're getting out -9. So remember, negative numbers, the smaller the number the bigger the signal. So we've gone from neg 10 to neg 9, so it's increased by 1 dB and the input's increased by 2 dB. Okay, that's at 1 kilohertz. So let's just see how we go when we change frequency. So 2 kilohertz, still the same. 3 kilohertz, still the same. 4 kilohertz, still the same. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's just gone to neg 9.1. I'll learn how to use. I think I know how to use this. Well, I use this pretty frequently. This thing. 10. Okay, go back down to 10. There we go. Okay, so 10 kilohertz, still pretty much the same. 11, pretty much the same. 12, 13. Slight difference there. It's gone to neg 9.2. So that's dropped very slightly. 14, 15, 16, neg 9.3, that's dropped again. 17 kilohertz, 18, 19 and 20. Whoops. Okay, so 20 kilohertz, putting in +2. We're getting out -9.4. So it's dropped by 0.6. So it's not a flat response. It's not a flat response because remember 1 kilohertz we had neg 9, so it had gone up 1 dB. Here it's only gone up by 0.6 dB. So that's a little bit. So you've got a little bit of attenuation on the HF end. But where did that come in? Let's go back down to where. So 9.1, okay, so 11 kilohertz, 12 kilohertz, yeah, 11, 12 kilohertz. It's pretty flat from 1K to about 12K, and then drops off between there and 20. Okay, so it's not a flat response through this thing. Let's just have a look at the low frequency response. So if we go back down to 1 kilohertz. There's 1 kilohertz. We've got it back to our neg 9 because remember we're putting in +2. So we'll just go down in frequency from 1 kilohertz and see how it goes. Okay, so 900 hertz, still good. 800, yep. 700, 600, 500, 400, 300, 100. 90. Excuse me. Okay, well, that's dropped a little bit. Neg 9.4 at 80 hertz, 70 hertz, 60 hertz, 50 hertz, neg 9.8. Okay, so that's actually dropped by 0.8 dB. Because remember it was neg 9, it's now gone to neg 9.8. We started off with neg 10. With 0. When we went to +2, we went to neg 9. We're still at +2, but at 50 hertz, it's at neg 9.8. So There's a bit of HF attenuation, there's a bit of LF attenuation here as well, so the response through this compressor is not flat across the audio range, 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Go down a bit more, 40 Hz, and 30 Hz, and 20 Hz. Yeah, okay. So at 20 Hz, there's a fair bit of that low frequency signal missing. Putting in +2, getting out -2.3. So putting in +2, remember the reference level was 0. We had -10 there. That's gone to -12.3. So we've gone up by 2 and we've gone down by 2. So it's got a fair bit of low frequency attenuation. So when you put this in line with your hi-fi, you will notice that the LF isn't going to be quite as thumpy, so the bass isn't going to be as thumpy. It's 100 Hz. Yeah, okay. What's it like at 50? Yeah. It only sort of matches the higher frequencies in level from about 200 Hz. So below 200 Hz, you're going to notice that the low frequency stuff is attenuated, and as we saw, the high frequencies are attenuated similarly at the other end. Okay. I'm guessing the same thing would happen if I go back to 1 kHz. Go back to 1 kHz, set the level to 0. Make sure we get our -10 there. Okay, well let's just try going 1 kHz at -2. Okay, so it's gone from -10 to -11.1, so we've got a change of 2 dB there, and we've got a change of 1.1 there. So that's about right, you know, 2 there and it's about 1 there. Okay. So let's just see if we change frequency. If we go low first, down to 200 Hz, hasn't really changed. 100 Hz, yeah, change there. Go down to 20 Hz, what do we get? Okay, so we should only have a 1 dB change here from our 2 dB change there. So that's gone from -10 to -14.5, so we've actually got a 4.5 dB change there. That should have gone from -10 to -11, and it's gone to -14.5 at 20 Hz. So that's, again, it's not being very kind to the low frequency end, this. So we go up to 100 Hz, -11.4. It's going to be closer to what we expect to see. So it looks about the same. It's going to have a similar sort of range as the reduction in level, I think, as the expansion is going to follow pretty much the same sort of response as the compression. So there we go. If we go up to, it's 1 kHz, 2 kHz. See, we're still getting -11.1. That's about right. 4, 5, 6, 7. See, it loves all the mid-range stuff. Oops, how did that get up there? There's 10, I forgot to press that, that's why. Or was it that? I can't remember now. 9, 10, 11, there we go. Okay, so there's 11, and it's still about, you know, still about 1, 11.2, it's fairly close. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 18, and there's 20 kilohertz. Okay, so it's actually better, isn't it, at the bottom end. If you've got a lower level at the bottom end, it actually brings it up. So it's still not 2 to 1, because if it was 2 to 1 that would be 11, not 11.5. But it's not too bad. But it would have been better to see it work reasonably flat right the way down to 20 hertz, because I will hear this. And in fact, when I had this connected to my hi-fi system, I watched a couple of things and I thought it doesn't quite sound as punchy as it did before. It's ironed all the levels out, so that I haven't got the crazy different levels between the different, channel 1 and channel 73 and all over the place. But it doesn't quite sound as punchy, and that will be why. So you come back down here. To 1 kilohertz, and we just put that back to 0 and go back to -10. Okay, so that's the frequency response. I've still got the same test configuration. These units are just connected via the Chrome block there, and there's the unit there. And one other thing I would say is that I think it should say in the instructions too. It mentions in the instructions about 1.8 volts on the test points, left test point and right test point. And it says that if you put this in line with your hi-fi and you can't get that voltage, then to change the value of these two particular resistors. Now, I did some experiments with that and found that if you start changing those resistor values, and you're using a single 12 volt or 15 volt supply, which is what I'm doing, you get some distortion. I can't quite. I didn't put a scope on it to see if it was clipping, but it didn't sound very nice at all. So there should be a note in there that if this is in fact the case, that you should only really muck around with the values of those resistors if you're running it with a positive and negative 15 volt supply, because it's got a lot more swing. You've got a 30 volt swing there. When you're running it straight from a 12 volt supply or a 15 volt supply, it creates an artificial zero in there for it to swing around, and of course it will be that zero will be at half of the voltage of your power supply. So mine's 15 volts, that's going to be 7.5 volts, so it's only got plus or minus 7.5 volts of swing. I suspect that's why that's occurring, but just bear that in mind if you do build one of these. Alright, well, I think that about wraps up the audio compressor, so I hope you found that useful and or interesting, or both. As usual, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.